Great day, everyone. It's Lavon McMillan, the founder and CEO of Advocate for Me and the host of the Advocate for Me podcast. We are so excited today. We have Marcus White here with us today, who is an author, a teacher, and he is going to break the game down for us today of how to work with families and work with children and be inclusive in our environment. So great day, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Yvonne. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad that you were able to reach out. You said that you found us on social media. What platform did you find us on?
I found you on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, Marcus reached out to me and he just wrote a children's book. But before we get into that, I'm gonna allow Marcus to share with us who he is and he does for a living and how he what is his purpose for his children's book. So Marcus, go ahead. Tell us who is Marcus White.
Uh, Marcus White, special educations teacher, and I'm still trying to figure out myself as far as who I am, honestly. But every
No worries
every
with that.
day is a new day. Every day is a new adventure. Every day is a new beginning. So I work with special needs students, specifically sixth through eighth grade autistic support. That's along the lines of as far as my work personally. That's my um, original trick and trade. I also built that passion for educating students by creating a book. So my teaching is the foundation because I shape lives of students on an everyday basis, and I speak authentically to students' emotions because they need to be in balance. And getting students in the right frame of mind and mindset to start the day is how they create impact through the day. So if I'm not in my mindset to do the things that are right for them, it's hard for them to know what right things to do for themselves. So that's the importance of what it is that I bring to the table on an everyday basis. And over time, that made me experience and understand whether if I was working with them as far as my autistic support students in sixth through eighth grade, or just seeing how students interact with each other on a daily basis, created the passion within me to write my story, to write my children's book, which is by title, What is Brian's Decision? A children's book about good and bad choices, empathy, and bullying. I find now that kids socially either don't know how to communicate to each other effectively, how to start a conversation, or even how to resolve conflicts. So again, that brings me back to getting them in the right frame of mind to understand how to either understand each other or how to better resolve situations so that way they're able to move and figure things out throughout the day. Because if you're going to be with me for 4, 5, 6 hours throughout the day, broken up into different periods, I want you to get impact with me, not just in educational experience, because I'm not just here to make a living. I'm here to make a difference. I've learned that actually from Denzel Washington. That's not something that I just personally just conjured up myself. I remember his quote, don't just aspire to make a living, but aspire to make a difference. And if we don't encourage children to think with forethought, they're not going to act with good intentions, act with good actions and productive behavior. So that's what led me to create my book for What is Brian's Decision? Again, a children's book about good and bad choices, empathy, and bullying.
Awesome. So I have two questions. Kind of. So one, what inspired you to be a teacher? And then the second one is like teaching is predominantly a woman's field, and I don't want to say it that way, but it's more female teachers than it is male teachers. And I know the character in Abbott Elementary, like he, brings out like, the enthusiasm and the excitement and everything for the kids. And you, like what you just said, just gave me like that picture of you in the classroom. I was like, yo, he sound like the guy from Abbott Elementary. So one, what inspired you to be a teacher? And the second thing is, um how is it being a male teacher also working in special education, because it's normally, again, a lot of female teachers that's working in that industry.
Well, what inspired me to be a teacher, honestly, my mother at one time just told me, you know what, why don't you be a teacher? You seem to have a lot of patience. So at that
That's a
time,
virtue.
at that time, I really wasn't sure. And it brings me back to things that I'm seeing now, where some kids, when they're getting fresh out of high school, maybe are not 100% sure what it is that they want to do. And I find it more important than ever to help kids to understand who it is that they are. Because if they don't know who they are, they're not going to determine who they're going to be. So everything needs a foundation. Everything starts at a starting point. You just can't start just out of high school with a blank slate. I think that there needs to be some foundation set of what it is that you're looking to be and who you are looking to become. So that way, when you take that big leap out of high school, you know exactly where you are and you know exactly where you want to go. And even beyond that, you know what it's going to take to get there, because sometimes you need a map, you need a GPS to establish your life and your foundation. So that is the kind of life that I would like to build for students, to get them to understand themselves so that way they can be positive and productive citizens, because we're here to help students, to show them how they can become more than who they are, and also help them to identify who it is that they want to be, so that way they can say to themselves that, you know, I've gotten something out of this experience besides just going from one grade to another, that they get value out of it. So that's what made as far as my personal reflection and understanding of what it is that I want, because I would want future generations to be better than previous generations. I think one. So that's what made me want to become a teacher. Then I taking what my mother told me and then building my own meaning behind it. So that way I can help future generations create their meaning, their why, and themselves as well.
Awesome. What I know you said you teach 6th through 8th grade in the autistic support classroom. So I know for 6th to 8th grade, like that's a not a challenging time, but it's different. Like you going into middle school, you're going, and then you're about to prepare to leave middle school to go to high school. So what would you say are three skill, like, I don't want to put a number on it, but what do you say that the skills are that you help your students to adjust during that time frame, from like going into middle school, from elementary school, and then getting ready to leave for high school?
I say the transitional goals have to obviously be established, because by the time they're age 14, that should be something that's either in their IEP goals or
Hmm.
starting to be implemented. So that way they're transitioning into high school with some goals that they're looking to establish. Some goals might be goals to help them with employment. Some goals might be to help them with secondary education, to establish what it is that they're looking for in a career. So those things in particular, I think, are something that need to be clear and made clear to the student, and even practice, so that way they have some understanding as far as where it is that they either are looking to strive for, looking to overcome, and a goal that they're looking to achieve. So kids need to have a goal in mind, not just even on paper, but just personal goal, and making sure that they establish themselves mentally and emotionally to be in the right place in mind for what it is that they're looking to establish, and the path that's paved for them, so that way they can approach what they're looking at with success and they know what they're looking to go to.
Good. I'm listening to what you're saying, and so my excuse me, my son is 16, about to turn 17 next month. Um, and the audience pretty knows, if you follow us on our podcast platform, that my son was born premature. And now he's like this. I call him a giant because now he's taller than me. And at one time he was failure to thrive and was shorter than everyone in his classroom. So now he's taller than his mother. But he's at that transitional stage where he's trying to figure out like what he wants to do. And I remember him doing his interview before he went into high school. Like they did an interview for him to enter into the high school, and then it was during the pandemic, so it was virtual. But I remember he was sweating so much when he got off the interview. He was like, "Mom, I was so nervous," and I was like, "But you did really well. Like you did good." And he's like, "Okay." And just that, like I know for him, that transition from pretty much he was at one school from first grade all the way to eighth, and then now going into a new environment, and then now having to like focus on, like what is my goal, what is it that I want to do. And so that's now it's a different transition for him, because now he's going from high school to either college, trade school, or employment. And so I see like his fear, because I'm like having that conversation with him, with your students. How does that conversation go for them doing that transition? Because I know you talked about the transitional goals and the IEP, but how does that conversation go, like on a one-on-one conversation with like one of your students, if you can think of one?
I think to make students understand what they're looking to approach and how they're looking to carry themselves, it's good for them to know that you, in the event that you are going to be, uh, I feel like I gotta get some recollection on everything that you had mentioned because you did bring a lot.
Oh, no problem.
You
No
brought in the
problem.
story and you also brought in a question. So you
Uh-huh.
want to take from the question and bring that into the story.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
kids need to first practice how to have a conversation. I think that's where social skills comes in because I came across this great message and that made me think more than ever that kids need to have social etiquette because we're in a world where kids think that you can talk to somebody in any way, shape, or form, whether if they're an adult or whether if they're your best friend, they're on the same level of social conversation and social etiquette. Like that's not the case, sir,
No, it's
ma'am. You got to know how to handle not only situations that come up where somebody might be asking you a question, but it's not meant to be taken personal. Some things are meant to be constructive. Some things are meant to help to give you advice. And oftentimes we're in a generation now where things are taken either too personal or not too serious. And there needs to be balance with that. I saw this quote that actually said if a child can do advanced math, speak three languages, or receive top grades, but can't manage their emotions, practice conflict resolution, or handle stress, none of that other stuff is really going to matter. So that's why there's such a great importance in having kids have the mindset to understand what it is that they're going into to help them be in the right state of mind and in the right place. Because some kids, whether if they're sixth through eighth grade or whether if they're younger, they still carry some baggage. They still may not be that excited about school. So establishing rapport is really important. Some kids are coming into school not even having um, food in their stomach, or maybe they're having things on their mind coming from a home that they're not in a place to even handle themselves, or they feel like they have to handle it when they shouldn't because they have their own personal situations that they got to take care of. So, in essence, helping students to understand. social etiquette in the right frame of mind, and giving them the perspective that they can be successful in what it is that they want to do, but they also need to know how to handle themselves when it comes to things that they're approaching so they know what to do when the situation occurs. So, prepping our students to think in the right frame of mind is really important, and giving them the belief in success that they can believe, achieve, and succeed is of great essence more than ever.
You dropped some gems right there. I wish I had like I'ma just clap because that right there was yes, like especially the whole like how they talking to the adults because I'll be like, who are you talking to? Like, and then they look at me all confused. I'm like, I'm an adult. You're a child. Like the way you're talking to me. But yes, that all the kudos to everything you just said because definitely, um, they do need to learn that social etiquette as well as like the social skills and how to interact um with people that's an adult figure,
Hmm.
even like an authority figure, because even in that conversation they don't know how to transition with that with an authority figure, an adult, and that is definitely needed. I was over here like clapping. I didn't want to clap while you was talking because I was like, yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But I know you talked about like the baggage that they may have, and I know in Philadelphia, um, our students and scholars are carrying a lot between violence, poverty, and I know with us being younger, we experienced it too, but I don't think we experienced it to the heightened level that it is now. And then they're also losing like a lot of their friends and family members due to it. And I know you said that you're in the autistic support classroom. So how are you able to talk to your students in the autistic support classroom about like those issues?
Honestly, I never really thought about it. In any situation, I always think to myself that if it was me, I would want to be told what it is that I need to do, regardless of how it's going to make me feel. Because at the end of the day, it's not about your feelings, it's about your productivity. It's about you becoming the best version of yourself. And you can't be in the right frame of mind if you can't be at your best, if you're not told what you need to know in order to prepare for things to come. So, kids, whether if again they're autistic support or they're regular ed, they want to be led. So, I felt in myself that I needed to be a leader for these kids and to give them everything and to help them to understand that, look, when I find out something, you're going to find out something. I don't care if it's a fire drill, I don't care if it's an upcoming event, whatever it is that I find out that I feel like you need to know and will help you to understand what is going to happen throughout the day, because kids in the autistic realm run by structure. And I
Hmm.
like that because I like structure. I like knowing what's to be expected. And even though not everything can be mapped out 100%, it's good to know where things are leading to. So that way we have some structure and understanding as far as where we are and where we want to go. So, that in essence, I believe is really important for students. I hope I'm answering the question because I feel like I'm going a
Yes,
little off
yes, you
topic.
are. No, you are. You are. Yep, you are. That was good. That was good. Um, my next question is, I know you talked about your children's book, and it referring to like bullying and how to interact with others. So, can you just talk a little bit more about the book and then how you address like those issues in your classroom or in the school environment in general?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm actually very thankful to be working with autistic support students because I feel like these are topics and things of discussion that oftentimes in your typical general curriculum isn't actually shared. So I thankfully don't have to come across too many situations as far as my classroom personally when it comes to bullying. But I feel like because students in my classroom have a hard time with understanding good choice and bad choice and understanding the importance of empathy, knowing how the other person feels, especially when starting a conversation. So if you're talking on a topic that is of interest to someone else, keep going with that topic. Now, if the topic is not leading to a continuation or conversation, like if it's just, hey, do you like red or blue? Well, what if they don't like either color? Then that pretty much diminishes the conversation. You got to know how to pick it up and continue the conversation to build understanding from not just yourself, but also understanding someone else. So you get understanding from them because of the values that you two share. These kids need to understand the importance of values. So when they value each other, they'll learn to respect each other and have empathy for each other because they'll know how the other person feels, coming from the perspective of understanding what it means to feel that way if they were in their shoes. So I have those kinds of conversations with my students. And as far as bullying goes, I saw that from more of a whole school perspective because some kids' ideas of bullying may be different from others' ideas of bullying. And that's why on the very back of my book, I actually I actually created and wrote down what empathy is, what's bullying, how to teach kids empathy, how to deal with bullying, like when you are being bullied, when you see someone being bullied, because oftentimes kids don't feel comfortable approaching situations. Some kids don't even feel comfortable asking questions in classrooms to make sure they're understanding a subject or understanding a lesson. But then as soon as you give them independent work and they're on their own, they're like, what was that again? Like, no, what, let's get back to what we're talking about here. So I have a chance in the back of my story to break down things like, for example, teaching kids about bully, being a role model, suggesting how children can show empathy, ask a child appropriate questions, encouraging them to imagine how someone else would feel, such as, how would you feel if you lost something? Show empathy by helping others in need. For instance, let's get ice for your friend's scraped knee. So, connecting behaviors with feelings. That is something that kids need to understand more about because they don't understand how their behavior can affect someone else's feelings. But when they understand it from an empathetic perspective by looking at it kind of from the looking glass looking in, saying, I wouldn't want to feel that way if that was me. That changes their whole perspective and helps them to understand that if you're going to be treating someone a certain way, treat them the best way that you would want to be treated. Because if you see something that's happening and you wouldn't like that happening to you, do something so that way you can be the person creating impact. So then we take things that we teach them and make them the teacher.
Awesome. Yeah, that was one of the things my grandmother always said to me, treat others the way you want to be treated. And that's one thing that stuck with me even after she, transitioned. And I always think about that. Like, do I want to be treated like this? And if the answer is no, then I'm not going to move forward. So that was definitely a good insight on how to look at bullying, and I agree with you with just, it's not just in my classroom, it's a school wide thing, it's a city wide thing. It's like it's all over. Like, you got adults that's bullying too.
Oh,
um
yeah.
when you look at the TV with these reality shows and all that, it's like, is this something that you should be watching? Because now you bringing it back and you imitating it at school, and you thinking it's okay, and it's really not. Like, it's they glorifying it, but it's really not positive behavior to just like, not even positive behavior. It's just not good behavior to just be in that type of environment and um think that it's okay. So thank you for sharing that. Um,
Absolutely.
so in the children's book, I know you gave us some of the activities and skills. That's at the end of the book. Can you just go into detail as to why you wanted to? I know you talked about it a little bit in your intro, but why you wanted to write the book and how you want the book to impact others.
Well, essentially, this book basically takes Brian, the main character, through an experience basically throughout the school day, having to have things go on between him and his younger sibling, his sister, to things going on in school where he's being bullied because Brian's learning certain aspects in life. And in life, you have to learn. You have to go through things that are uncertain and are uncomfortable. So, looking at things outside of your comfort zone, it's going to cause you to ask questions. So, what I loved about creating this book was that it took what I do as a teacher and made it a teachable experience because taking this character through his school day, where even he's going through his own personal experience and questioning of what to do when you're faced with a bully, and he is faced with a bully, but then he gets an opportunity to learn how to address those situations through his teacher. So taking a teachable experience in a book that teaches you about bullying, I thought was really a great feature to the story. And also, throughout the book, you have stopping points where you ask questions like, what strategy did you find most helpful when dealing with bullying? What did you feel more confident about ways to deal with bullies? So there's stopping points within the story where you not only pick good choices and bad choices, where you can see what would happen if you picked a bad choice, where you could see what would happen if you picked a good choice, and then see that story extended through the pages you go through. But this can even be a story where parents can sit with their children and ask them these questions because children may not be as open to these experiences as we might want them to be. They might have already just gone through the school day and that being tough enough as is by itself. And you ask them questions at the end of the day, like, hey, how was your day today, Johnny? How was your day today, Susan? It was okay. And that's pretty much it. Like,
Okay.
no, like like what happened, what was going on, what did you learn? So getting questions out of kids, even if they may not feel as comfortable because now they're in their comfort zone of being home, this book allows the student or the child with their parent, if their parent is available, which I would definitely encourage parents to read this book with their kids, to go over these questions with their child as if their child is Brian, as if their child is the main character, because in the end, any student, child can relate to this story by sharing personal experiences of what happened to them during school and how they would approach this situation if it was them that were the character. That's why it puts them literally within the character's shoes so you can see how could you handle this situation if this was you, how would you deal with this situation um, if this was the kind of experience you went through, because we can't get these answers out of these students if we don't ask them the questions themselves. And I think it's easier to do that through a story oftentimes than just asking casual questions of hey, what did you learn today?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And then allowing them to have that conversation with the parent. Um, and because sometimes, like you said, they'll ask, how was your day? And if they say, oh, it was okay, then that's the end of the conversation. And it shouldn't be. Like, you should ask open ended questions so then they feel more in tune and sharing with you how their day was. So, thank you. I can't wait to get my copy of the book because it sounds like I need to apply that to my scholars at school too. So to have that conversation with them. So the last question is what it could be a quote or something that you want to share with the audience, um, personally, or if you want to use it as far as your profession. Um, like, so what would you share with them?
I always go by this same quote in my mind because I think nowadays everyone gets so caught up in the hustle and bustle of life that we don't forget to treasure the most important experiences. And oftentimes it doesn't require having to feel the need to have everything rushed. So, my message honestly would be don't let your hustle overcome your humble. I
Mm,
think we as people need to be more humble with understanding that at the end of the day, regardless of how hard you work, be as productive as you could possibly be. Use your time to be the best version of yourself. Do whatever you can to do what it is that you intend to do. But we all have 24 hours within the day. And if we can't utilize that to at least be better people, especially when we work so hard for the very people that we work so hard for, which is our family, then what did we really get out of the day? Did we work so hard for someone else, or did we work hard to be better versions of ourselves? So, again, that's even something as far as why I even created the book that I created, because we have to be better versions of ourselves. If we can't be better versions of ourselves, how can we be better versions for the generations that we create, for the future generations that are coming? We want the future to be better than it was in the past. And too often, when we turn on the TV, the radio, there's always some means of drama or conflict or hostility going on where people are either nitpicking at something or creating something just for the means of pointing out something that is really irrelevant as far as people is concerned. Because at the end of the day, we are people. At the end of the day, we only have 24 hours. At the end of the day, we need to value ourselves more than anything, because if we can't be at our best day in and day out, if we carry the past into the present and feel like we are defeated because we came across a challenge that might have been something that might have either slowed us down or held us back. But every day can be a challenge, but every day we have opportunities to rise above those challenges. So don't be a victim, be a victor. It may take some time, but do not let your hustle overcome your humble. Take care of yourself. And again, be the best version of yourself possible, because that's how you can be the best person you need to be.
awesome. You need to get that quote put on a t-shirt. That don't let your hustle overcome your humble. That's that's you dropped some more gems right there. That oh my goodness. I'm like I was trying not to clap while you was talking again. Don't let your hustle overcome your humble. Yeah, get that on a t-shirt, Marcus. Dude,
Oh,
quote it today and get it on a t-shirt. Cause
thank you.
that's power. That's powerful right there. That's definitely powerful. So, how can our audience, listening audience, contact you? So you can share like your social media, email, website, and then also share how they can purchase the book.
Well, you can purchase the book. I have it on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. I have it online there. I also have a Pinterest for Pursue Positivity 24/7. So that's one means of how you can also obtain it as well. And that's even my email as far as Pursue Positivity. Yeah, yeah, I actually need to look it up as far as my Pinterest now because I just kind of started this. So um, I literally started all this since September of last year in
Oh
2023.
wow,
So
wow! So everything's still new. Okay.
the book is still very young, and even in addition to that, I wanted to create something that I think could be an outreach and something that can be relatable to a lot of the kids out there, because we all need something to help understand ourselves and help to be better people as well. So that's why I created What is Brian's Decision? But in addition to that, I've even created other books as well that may tie into like an activity book for kids in ages 5 to 10, positive affirmation activity book as well, a 1 minute gratitude journal, and a mindful Mandela's book. Because sometimes we need some inner peace and relaxation after a busy day to just kind of take some moments to color, be our artistic and creative selves. Some art programs are being underfunded, are undervalued, are underappreciated. And that creativity oftentimes is very important, because I wouldn't have created this book without creativity and understanding of personal experiences that I have in the educational field to create the value that I've created from these books. So again, you can get these books on Amazon, you can get them at Barnes and Noble, and you can find me on Pinterest at Pursue Positivity 24/7. I think actually that's my email. So my email for my to reach out to me is Pursue Positivity, Pursue Positivity, all together, Positivity, 24/7 at gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome. Any social media pages that you want them to follow you on, or
You can certainly find me on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. I like to post things as far as personal experiences and things that I have going on personally. I also help to run a financial firm. So I oftentimes tie things that I do with helping kids within the four walls in my classroom and creating educational experiences such as financial education also outside of the classroom. So I like the idea of impacting adults as well as impacting children. I feel like Batman, so to speak. So during the day, I'm Bruce Wayne, but at night, I'm Batman
Batman?
helping the adults. But having opportunities to um, be of impact in both spaces, because we can all benefit from valuable educational experience.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. Thank you for reaching out. And everyone, is just as simple as that. If you see our flyer or information about our podcast or our magazine and you have a story that you want to share with our listening audience or with our followers, just reach out. Like I said, Marcus sent me an email, and here he is today doing his first podcast. So congrats, Marcus. You did a great job on here today, sharing your story, sharing the purpose, sharing your meaning, for working with our students, as well as sharing your activity books and your new book, what is Brian's Decision, on our platform. So thank you for sharing this time with us today. To our listening audience, as always, remember to be empowered, inspire others, be inclusive, include all, and advocate for everyone, whether that means for yourself, for your child, for your community, and everyone in between. So, thank you for listening to our podcast today. And again, reach out to Marcus, purchase his book as well as his upcoming t shirt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes, you're glad to get that as a t-shirt, and I'll definitely be the first one to buy it because that's gonna be a powerful message when somebody reads that on the t-shirt. So thank you again, and we are looking forward to you coming on again. maybe we could talk about that financial literacy piece and how it's important for our families and for our students to start getting ready for that. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, so thank you again for coming on.
Thank you
And
for having
until
me.
next time, everyone, enjoy your day. Peace and blessings.